Uh,
What? I just seen this. I don't know why I didn't pay attention to it.
they've been talking about this for like a month and a half now.
I just now seen it because I haven't been going this route. I haven't done this since what in months since we last did Devin the Gamer. So speaking of that, welcome. The Devin the Gamer is back. And as I say always, it's like a thief in the night, or today, a thief in the sunlight. We pop out, we pop up anywhere, anytime, any place. I think we're on location right now in the Arctic. I'm just playing. Anyway.
I was about to say we quit our day jobs, and now this is all we do.
This is all we do. Just
Pretty much,
talk.
yeah.
Yep, that's it. That's it. Talking game. That's it. So I think we still have our significant others, but other than that, we're living off the land. So
man, what else do you need, right? I mean, pretty much it.
Well, we still need internet. So I mean, but
internet, a good controller, television, the simple things in life.
The simple things in life. Anyway, so welcome. We are here, and it's been a while, but that's just what we do. We get so busy at what we do, for Don working, and then it's the hot season for me. I only thing really I can do consistently is GRG, and then sometimes every once in a while, hey, it's just like I'm just working too late, and then I just got to say, hey, we ain't doing the show tonight. So that's just life. But regardless of that, man, we're here, and we got quite a few things we want to talk about. I'm sure that there's some things after the months that's passed that there was other things that we were in discussion, and we got in parties, and we just kept talking about. I was like, hey, that'd be a good idea to talk, but we finally got some topics that we want to knock out. So first off, I guess we should I should ask you how you been, what you've been doing, what you're playing, how is your game coming along, what else is happening, Don?
Well, the game is slow because I'm under contract with another company still right now. So that takes priority over anything that I'm producing on my own. But even things have been good, man. I mean, it's good to have work, and it's good to have a plan, and hopefully the roadmap is by the end of the year. I will be fully independent working on my game. But there's a lot of things up in the air, and I also got to make sure I don't screw up my E3 plans. So we'll just see how it all goes, if you know what I mean. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the same thing. I'm gonna have to deal with everything that I got going on with me personally, with with me going and getting tying a knot, and then jumping out and going to E3 and all of that. So yeah, it's a lot of things to tie in on top of work and just everything else that happens. And then of course I have a new person in the house now. So it's I should say person. It's a thing, a big thing. But he's a cute little thing, man. You know what I'm saying? I have to big shout out to Briggs, my bull mastiff. He's just a big old baby, man. I love it. But he's only 3 months old, and already he weighs 51 or 52 pounds when we took him to the vet. So he's going to be a big boy. So that's he's already out there just lighting the yard up. I have to clear. I'm like, golly, how many? So when he gets fully grown, I don't know. I think he's going to be anywhere from 150 to maybe 200 pounds, man. I think that's exactly where he's going to be. So,
man, I'll trade that for having to buy my own mocap studio, looking at a new place so I can actually put the mocap studio and building wife's business. So like, it's just so much all at once. It never stops. You know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah, no, I hear you. So anyway, let's just get on to it. Talk about it. First off, man, let's run down, since this was a story that we talked about on GRG I think it was a couple of weeks ago. I'll just go ahead and we'll run it down right now, which was talking about the Naughty Dog situation with the hours. A couple of for the people that hasn't listened or heard it on GRG or heard it anywhere else, basically what has happened is there were some people that were former workers of a Naughty Dog that were complaining about they were basically being overworked. And then a lot of them quit. A lot of them went other places, to other studios, etc. And some of the things that you heard was pretty bad. Like, I mean, I didn't even have no idea that contractors were getting minimum wage. Now in LA, minimum wage is what, $11 an hour or whatever, but still, I mean, that's still not a livable wage. So
It's subjective depending on where you live, right? Like
yeah.
that's the whole thing, is everywhere's different. So
Yeah. So basically, regardless of that, they were saying they was making the minimum wage out there where they were, and they would work anywhere from 80 to 100 hours in a week. That's insane, because when I've worked 70, maybe 72, 73 hours in a week, I feel dead. I don't want to do anything. So I can imagine 80 to 100 hours, and then you even having to do crunch and having to work 24 hours and within a day. There were just horror stories about just how that they felt not only obligated, but they also felt neglected because of the fact that they were contractors and they was trying to get in. They was trying to get their foot into the door so they can get into the business, and then they still got shunned. And then if they tried to tell anybody or complain, or if they wanted to try to have any type of relaxed time, it would either put them in a position where they would get fired or they would get reprimanded. And it was just a whole big bad situation. So I know that you're a dev, Don. I want to hear your perspective of this. I know that a lot of people have to work a lot of hours. Some people don't, but for the majority of Americans in this country, we do. So do you feel that these people are that's coming out? Do you feel that this is validated for them, for people to scrutinize these companies, or do you feel that this is kind of like that Naughty Dog isn't so much the problem and maybe it should be something else? I want to hear your thoughts about this.
well, I can tell you right now, these guys under contract are probably in breach of their contract by quite a bit. Right off the bat, you're not allowed to say any negative or even positive things when you're under contract with that particular studio or what's going on with the project. And it doesn't even have to be deliberated about the project itself. It's just how, like, work conditions and stuff like that. You're not allowed to complain about that. I know that sounds weird, but you're told that before you even sign anything. At least you should be legally. In regards to that, the other thing is, when you're a tester, they basically they give you the lowdown before you volunteer for the job. They tell you how much you're going to get paid an hour, how often you expect to work, how long the hours will end up getting as you get into different crunch times and stuff like that, and, all that sort of stuff. So it's all something they're prepared for, in regards to that, and they go into this willingly. Now, hindsight's 2020. I think for a lot of people, like, oh, that sounds good, because they want to work in games, and then next thing you know, reality hits them. You know what I mean? And so there's a little bit of that as well. So it seems weird to have people complain about something they kind of knew what they got getting themselves into. In regards to that, if they were getting paid a minimum wage, and I don't know exactly what Naughty Dog pays their contract workers or anything like that, to give you an idea, EA pays well above that. That one I know. And so, like, EA gets a lot of crap for how they treat people sometimes too. And I know EA makes they definitely pay their testers more than minimum wage.
Okay. So, well, like, and again, EA is considered the evil empire, but
yeah, that's why I brought it up, because they get a bad rep for a lot of things.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Sleepy Goblin. He's a member of the GRG family, and he's found some dolphins. That's what's going on, man. I love it. I love it, and that's great. So okay. So let me ask you this though. All right. So
okay.
Do you think that these guys, these men and women out here that's doing this hard work, and especially those hours are excruciating because you have no life. You have no life. These were hours that I was putting in crazy hours like that, putting in 80 hours plus back during the PlayStation 3 360 era. That I really didn't have any time. But the only good thing about it is that I had somewhat of a weekend, and just to play whatever I was playing for that little bit. But most of the time when you come home from work, you just want to eat something and go to sleep. That's it. You don't have no time to really do too much of anything. So do you think that these guys need to start having a union, or does that seem like a bad word for you?
I know people are split on this, but I'm not a fan of unions. No, I do think they have their place in society. I think in more respect to what you do for work is, yeah, if you're working that many hours, you're a danger to yourself and others, right? You
Right.
know, there's a certain point you're going to have a threshold where someone can get seriously hurt or injured, or and affect them the rest of their life. So I think unions are best when they protect people's well-being. And what I mean by that is just seriously injury, that sort of thing, or heavy equipment, that sort of stuff.
Right.
Working long hours at a desk, the worst that happens is a return key in my forehead that's imprinted because I fell asleep, right? And I lost my work. That's the worst that actually happens, right? So I know it sounds insensitive for those who do work long hours. I work long hours too. I do it to myself. Sometimes it's not even a requirement. I'm ahead of schedule, but I want to make it better. And the thing is, in the industry, is there's a lot of competition for your job. So the reality is, maybe under contract, you sign something, but you're penciled in. You're not in ink. If that makes any sense, it's really hard to get in that position where you're in a leadership position where you're not, I wouldn't say expendable or anything like that, but there's always somebody thirsty for your job. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, no, that makes
Yeah.
perfect.
So I look at working in industry as more like working like a professional athlete than it is like your typical 9 to 5 job. And somebody is willing to put in the more work, that threatens your job to a certain degree. If you're not outputting, or even if you are outputting, obviously it shines on the other individuals. So when you have contractors, usually, because most of the stuff is all testers, the harsh reality is, okay, you put 8 hours in, somebody else next to you volunteers longer hours. He's not telling you to do longer hours. They're volunteering their time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that competition drives that. And so a lot of times when people feel guilty for working less hours, it's not necessarily something, I mean, maybe the studio influences, but I doubt it. I think it's really the individuals that are hungry. They want to be more. And let's be honest, Naughty Dog is a studio that has a good reputation. And so who doesn't want that feather in their cap? Who doesn't want to learn from those guys? So I mean, there's a lot to be kind of said there. So I know it paints Naughty Dog in a negative light, but I really feel like this is no different than a lot of other testers, and it's more of a cultural environment problem, I would say. And maybe they can do better at managing that as an industry, and not just Naughty Dog, just as an industry as a whole. Maybe judging people on the quality of their work versus the quantity. That might be something else that we can move towards. That sort of stuff. Maybe I'm saying there is solutions and stuff like that, but I don't really look at it as Naughty Dog's the problem, or Naughty Dog's slide at these people in any sort of way.
Yeah, no, I mean, from my perspective of it, if I'm looking at it from a different perspective, I'm glad. I really am glad for the federal government, because if it wasn't for them, we would probably be working 7 days a week. I mean, if you go back to the whole days of the union, and I understand, I'm definitely not going to get political about it, but but if you go back into your history of how people used to work before there were unions, then you've seen the atrocities of what was going on.
There was also child labor. There's all sorts of stuff here in the United States. So I hear you on that one.
Right. And so the thing of it is that, over time, just like with anything else, people start getting corrupt. People start thinking more about money. And even though I feel that unions, because I have worked at a job that was union, and then I'm in a position where in the work that I've been doing for a long time is not a union, and in my state it's ready to work. I prefer a union 100%, because just for the main state, just for the fact that the job could have any reason to let you go, and it's really hard to fight to try to keep your job, or if you wanted to try to get, some kind of unemployment, anything of that nature. But with a union, you have somebody to back you. You have to really have a lawyer and save your money in order to fight to get that to happen. So I feel for those people that, that for the contractors. But this is happening. You have to grind before you can get into the main room. You got to work for it. You got to work for it, and that's what they.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, I don't really talk about my story, how many times I've been turned down till I had the opportunities that I've had. And those opportunities didn't really open up to me until recent, to be honest with you. This last 2 years, those opportunities have showed up for me.
Yeah.
But I've been working towards those goals forever. I've done play testing and other things here and there. And, I've done those sort of things. But once I got my foot in the door, regardless of being turned down, all that did was forge me into being better who I was. Literally, within months of, 6 months of me working in an industry, I went from the entry level position of what I do to a lead. In regards to that, and matter of fact, to a lead position that the publisher does not want me to leave. They're lobbying to pay me more or whatever, to incentivize to keep me around, right? And so, I mean, that's the type of thing is, you're good. The industry will treat you well. In regards to that, it's just the job is this, and I think it's a lot of it's internal pressures of individuals, everyone wanting to get in. And I think maybe we can do a better job of managing those expectations, I guess, and measuring people on the quality of the work, not the quantity. And I think play testers a lot of times get judged on the quantity of their work and not the quality. And I think that kind of leads to it.
Yeah, and and that's the thing too, is that it is a sticky situation, because I don't feel sorry for anybody that has to put in the grind to get there. But I do feel on the other end I feel for those people that have to work so hard, like do more, because I've been in that position where I've had to put in 14 to 16 hours in a day, and I've seen a person that has a status that get off at 8 hours, and then you're upset because of the fact that you're like, damn, I'm busting my ass. I've been doing this for 6-7 months, and I still haven't got to that point. But these people are, so when the roles were reversed, I kept myself doing like, what, hey, I can get off at this time, but I kind of want to help these guys, to encourage them to keep working, to help. Some people don't care, because you could tell the people that don't want to continue to do it, that they'll be quick to know, like, look, I can't do this. I can't do these different type of hours of the day. I'm used to a just strict hour. I can't come in at 3 o'clock in the morning one day and then come in at midnight the next day, and then come out, then might come in at 7-8 o'clock in the morning. Some people just can't do that. And so regardless, I feel that if those people could have some kind of union, I think that would help them. Now, I'm not saying that every job should have a union. I think that it's fine the way it is, but I see that games can suffer from this. So especially if they're making really big games, and then that kind of explains the reasons why you see some games that get bugs, why testers miss a couple of things, because if they're fatigued, they can't see all of this. You see what I'm saying? I mean, yes. I feel like if you got so many hours, if you got that many hours that you got to put in, and plus they get to a point that they got to crunch, they're going to miss a lot of things. And so
there is a threshold for everybody, right? And like, just talking about being human, there is a threshold where you hit a wall, right? You're putting in time, you're working hard, and yes, you're working, but the quality of your work drops. And it's not intentional. If anyone, no one should be blamed when that sort of thing happens. So that comes down to management and having good pressure relief and things like that. So crunch is a real thing. It's not going away. The question is, can you make it more pleasant for your employees? Can you, like, for example, there was a crunch, and at the work where I'm doing contract work right now, and they had a situation where basically, because they were so close to the finalized release, they weren't allowing family members into the building, period. and you just saw the quality of everyone's work drop, and they couldn't put two and two together. But that's what it was, right? They're working the long hours, they're not able to see their family. So we arranged an area where the families can come visit for lunch, and certain areas of the office was reorganized because that quality of life helped with what's going on. So a lot of that stuff is like a learning process, or sometimes like they'll get you meals, or they'll make flexible hours. Like where I go, is a mandatory time I have to be in the office, which is around, basically from 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Now I'm there in the office a lot longer than that. By the time I hop on Xbox Live, it's like 10 o'clock in my time, right? I'm putting the hours in at the office, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that flexibility allows me to work from home, allows me to be at those office for those mandatory meetings, if some sort of meetings happen at the last minute. So that sort of flexibility also helps out with employees as well. And sometimes they just need to get away from everything and just be at the office and work. And I'm kind of one of those guys. So like, that's just kind of how that stuff is. So you got to do, crunch is expected. You're expected to work long hours. But as a studio, what can you do from a culture perspective? How you manage your policies that allows your employees to have a good life while working there, maintaining the passion, because you don't want the passion of your key employees burning out. These are things that are real things within the industry. And then what happens is you're treating your employees like a rubber stamp, and then eventually a rubber stamp wears out, right? If you keep using it. So you want to manage those things. These are all things I'm thinking about, right? Because I know crunch is going to happen with my own personal studio that I'm building up. I know that the troubles within the industry and every studio is different. So these are things you do have to address. But yeah, crunch is a real thing. I don't think the problem with we're trying to find my words on this, but with a union, the problem you run into is these people will probably end up getting paid less take home for them. And then you're going to have games delayed more. And then you're also going to have the cost of those games go up. And so these are all repercussions if it goes to that union route. And I'm trying to avoid that, I guess, as much as possible. I don't want game prices to go up. And I'm working hard so I can take more home, if that makes any sense. And I've positioned myself in a way to save enough money. So, if work doesn't find my way, I'm good. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's the other big take home: be independent if you're going to be working in this industry. Once you get that first fat check, don't spend it. Just, you just kind of have to save your nuts for about 3 years. And then you're in a good position to do whatever you want in the industry.
Okay. All right. Getting some advice from a dev out there to other future devs or people out there that's thinking about wanting to get into the field. That's something definitely, I mean, I've always wanted to get into the gaming field, but not as a dev, because I was seeing some people that knew some people that were testers, and then they would tell me some of the games that they had to play. They couldn't tell me anything about how good or bad the game played, but they just, they snuck and said, "Hey, man, I played this game. I really ain't supposed to tell you that, but I played this game and blah, 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 blah." And then I was like, "Oh, you ain't played that particular game, or you ain't played that?" No, that goes up to the higher ups, so people that's been doing it for a lot longer. And so then they said, and then like in their game, and then so I was like, well, that sucks. I don't want to be no damn tester. I would have put, you kind of thought that you could jump in and do that, but that was like many moons ago. But yeah, I don't know. But let's move on to the next topic. And matter of fact, that was a good segue, talking about prices. And that is something that came in, I seen earlier today. Now, this has been out. If you into news, politics, things like that, this has been talked about for a while now. But when I talked about this on GRG a few times, because it seems like it's been festering. And I was wondering if we was going to hear anything about it, or was it going to be resolved before the time that these new consoles will start coming out. So anyway, Sony has warned that the PlayStation price should rise if the U.S. expands more China tariffs. And so they already hit with a tariff, but then they pulled back. And then now there's another threat of more tariffs because, it seems that the president is not happy of how things are going on within marketing, things of that nature. So regardless,
it's a cold war with trade. Is
right?
What it is.
It's pretty much the cold war with trade, right.
Not to take a political side, but that's essentially what's going on.
Right. Thank you for making it to that point, because I was trying to say it is non-political as possible, but
without taking a side, because we all know
without taking a side on it. But regardless of it, but this is the reality. Yeah. And so there was something that I seen that was posted. I think Bot posted, Xbot448 posted it in his DMs, and it was basically that they were pre-ordering PlayStation 5s for over $1,000. Now that's just for people that kind of want to be the early adopters, and these people somehow have some kind of way of giving you a pre-order. I kind of think that's sketchy as hell. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. I love my Xbox. I can't wait for Scarlet, but there's no way I'm putting $1,000 down for any console. That thing has to be insane. So regardless of the fact, I did also see another article that yesterday that was basically saying that, look, in these new times, it's a new era. If people are thinking that the PlayStation 5 is going to be, and even the Scarlet, it's going to be $300-$400, they have another thing coming. These consoles are probably going to be anywhere from $500 on up. And when you hear about this situation going on with these tariffs, and if it gets out of hands to where China is taxed, then the PlayStation is going to have to come out, and it's going to be more expensive. And the people that suffer are the gamers, or so much the consumers, not so much the government. So it's one of those things where how can we soften the blow if this does happen? If you want to get a PlayStation 5, and let's just say that it's, that it was supposed to sell for $500, but then when it comes to the US, it's going to be maybe if you do the taxes of how things go, about $575. What is your thoughts about this?
Well, this is tricky, right? So we look at it from a one-dimensional standpoint of the United States and the United States tariffs on a very particular country. The harsh reality is the prices of raw materials, partners of manufacturer partners, all that sort of stuff, because they're not all located in one country. They're located, products are international collaboration. Let's call it what they are. They're not just built in one area. Those prices fluctuate all the time. So say the price, just making things up at this point, but let's say the price of copper goes up, right? Well, you go to the source that's going to be able to provide you the raw material at the most affordable price. So you kind of do a little bit of a shuffling of the manufacturing technique, right? And then say the material is not up to snuff, then you don't use it, or you do use it. So that's kind of how a lot of that stuff goes. There's also contingencies built into manufacturing any product on the market. Well, and I've never manufactured hardware per se, right? But I did work in other industries where we basically had hidden contingencies built into the manufacturing costs of a product in case things fluctuated. It can be anything from tariffs to just the cost of raw goods. So I don't know if it's going to affect the final price of what we get here in the United States or not. We don't know. It's a little too early. But they are warning because, I think Sony doesn't want to pay the tariffs. Who does, right? And right. I think that's what it boils down to. And they're cutting it much closer, and they may have less flexibility of, basically the way they're going to manufacture the PS5 and the partners they have and stuff like that. They may be stuck. They may not be. Microsoft, for example, has I don't know if it's assembly or they're building boards, or they have some manufacturing in South America, for example, right? doesn't mean it's cheaper in South America to produce that product, right? So like they can move things around, but does it make it cheaper to produce it there? We don't know. So the cost of labor and the cost of raw materials and the cost of basically manufacturer errors here and there, I mean, all that factors into the final product in regards to it. So I don't know if our next consoles are going to go up in price or not. I hope not for the consumers, but there's a possibility that may not just be a false alarm or maybe an issue. Because of this, I also heard that RAM pricings drop dramatically. Because of this, there's some sort of roundabout way, the way, whoever is manufacturing RAM costs went down. So if you're buying more RAM for your computer, right now is the time to do it in like the next 3 months or so. So, trade is very complicated. It's not very easy to understand. There's one major country that does a lot of consuming, which is the United States. It sets something in motion and there's a ripple effect, and then there's always a reaction with all these different companies when they're manufacturing goods. So it's interesting to see how it all goes.
Yeah, and this is as going reading more into it for the people that didn't read this article or anything, because it's all over the place. It's from even from The Verge all the way to the Wall Street Journal. But Sony teamed up with Microsoft and Nintendo last month to issue a statement to the U.S. Trade Representative's office against the proposed tariffs. And the letter states that the tariffs would significantly disrupt their businesses, but that ultimately American consumers and small businesses like video game makers could take the biggest hit. The 7-page letter estimated that consumers would have about 180 million in costs shifted directly to them, and 200,000 American jobs could be at risk. Now, I mean, and basically that's what Sony was basically saying is like, look, we don't want to do this. You guys need to work this out, because we're going to have to take steps and options. And really one of the options is to pass in the cost of production to its customers. Yeah. And Sony is kind of bring out they got the momentum behind them. They got the hype. PlayStation 5, it's all over the place for PlayStation fans, for gamers. And this is also for Nintendo and Xbox as well. But this could, but the fact of it is that like Xbox, like you said, Xbox has different places, got different plants all over the world, and they could probably move something to this part of the country, that part of the country. Well, other parts of the countries from all over. But in Japan, or in China, I should say, wherever, it's going to fully affect them. And like I said, when I read that, they was breaking down the prices, and the Xbox will go up too, but for that reason that they could move their manufacturing to a different place, and Sony couldn't. It said that it would be like if this console is $500, it would be $575 plus the tax. So you're looking at pretty much close to a $600 console. While for the Xbox, it would be around 535, 540, somewhere around there, and then you with tax included on top of that. And then if you go and think about, like you said, in Brazil, the PlayStation, and in Canada, the PlayStation is really expensive over there. So it definitely hurts not only the companies, but it definitely hurts the gamers, because it's already a crunch for us to want to go buy all these hot games, things like that. But to just think that you want to buy a console, you've been saving up for it, you think you get an actual price, and then you get hit with these stupid tariffs. The next thing you know, I got to pay more, and some people might not have that, and that hurts gaming all around.
Depends on how the company wants to swallow the cost too, right?
Right.
Like they're like, okay, we can take the $30 hit per console. I'm just picking up a random number, of course, but then the question is, when do you get that recovery? How much software do I have to sell to flip the bill, right? In regards to that, and that's a strategy that's been abandoned. I would say this last generation, but it's something they may go back to. So who knows? I mean, think about, like, I know that, I'm not the person who's going to be doing streaming when it comes to playing my content. But that starts making those sort of avenues maybe enticing for those people. You're like, it's not the same, but this will hold me over until I can make it happen, right? What I really want, and that might be an option for people as well. So I don't know how it's all going to pan out. Hopefully they don't cut back on the hardware that we're going to be getting. That's my main concern. But I haven't heard anything along the lines of that happening though. So,
but what about games though? That's one thing that I haven't heard either. Is I haven't heard anything about like games. Would there be a discrepancy between the prices of games? Maybe from maybe a game that's coming out from Europe or from other game that's coming out from Japan.
I don't really see that happening.
Okay.
What null and voids that is digital distribution, if that makes any sense, versus say a disc stamped out in China, right? Coming on over, then that's going to get hit with that tariff, right? So, if anything, it will speed up digital distribution, is what I'm thinking.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, well, hey, for anybody out there, if y'all got any questions on this that you want to ask me or Don, go ahead and let us know. But I mean, we're going to move on to the next topic. But I just think that it's worth talking about and also getting prepared for, because we don't know what to expect.
It's such a complicated thing. There's people that have really full-time jobs all year trying to figure this stuff out and try to keep things, stable.
Yeah.
At a low cost.
Yeah. So if you want these new consoles and they give out a price, hey, that's what's going on. So what's going on with you, Victor? You damn right. Marlo Briggs for the win. So anyway, I named my dog Briggs. So I'm and he responded to it very well. So I like that. Anyway, so let's talk about Ready at Dawn. All right. So we seen some tweets from one of the head guys from out there from the studio, and they've been showing some pictures and saying, "Hey, look, welcome our new home. Look at this new pretty building," and then they got the name on the side, and just a couple of years ago.
So did they move into suburbia? What's going on?
I don't know. They look like they moved into they moved on up, to the Fair East Side. That's what it looks like. They finally look like they finally got a piece of the pie. So I just their building looks good. They got these big glowing letters outside of their building. The building looks plush, set back, real hipster like. So when you look at the pictures, they got a whole wall of the games that they've developed over the time, and they seem very excited. Now, for the juicy, interesting part is the speculation. Because on one end that you hear, oh man, PlayStation is out here. They're going there. They've been rumored that they're going to acquire some studios themselves, and then people are already speculating that the Order 2 is on its way. This is exactly what's going on. PlayStation is locking this down. But if people remember, just about 3-4 years ago, that breakup was nasty. PlayStation just dropped them like a bad habit. Sony said, nope, gone. This game didn't do it, whatever the case may have been. And they said, finito curtains, done. Shut it down completely. So this is the question I'm asking you. Now, it could easily be that they could mend relationships, things could be fine. Ready at Dawn could be because they got money from somewhere. From where they were at, it seemed like that they were dead out of the water, and there was no way that they were belly up pretty much. So somebody has given them the money. But the question is this Sony, or is there a potential someone else that's involved that could be helping these people out? What do you think, Don?
Yeah, somebody's flipping the bill, right? In regards to that, and obviously they're excited. They kind of got that gleam in their eye again because they're probably making a big project. In regards to that, and obviously they need the space for whatever this next big project is for them. And they're a talented team. I mean, they've had some hit and miss, I would say, projects for as far as the consumers are concerned. But doesn't mean they're not talented. I kind of look at them, and this is the case with really any development team. Sometimes certain publishers and certain developers are not a good match, right? Not a good marriage is the best way I would describe it, right? It doesn't mean the publisher's bad. Doesn't mean the developer is a bad developer. It's just not a good fit for one another. For whatever reason, at the time, at least it looks like from the outside looking in, there were things said between the two. I think it was more things said at Ready at Dawn than from Sony's side of things. Sony just kind of did the formal, hey, they're no longer part of us, all that sort of stuff, right? And then you had Ready at Dawn. I think they had some choice words. So this is called that. So I don't. I mean, it's possible. I mean, it's possible they may amend those relationships. But I would say that's the least likely scenario I see panning out. I mean, I see them patching things together about the same way I see Cryotech and Microsoft patching things together. You know, I just, that's probably the best parallel I can pull there, right? Something that was a good game, it had a lot of potential, but it didn't quite reach its potential, and then there was friction there. That's probably the most polite way I can put it. So I see Ready at Dawn, honestly, if you ask me anything, I see them either being picked up by Google Stadia or possibly picked up by Microsoft.
Ooh,
Those are the two.
Don't do that. Don't do that, Don. Don't do that. Don't do that. Think so?
If you ask me, if you ask me where my bet is, I'm betting on that.
So you put $500 down on the table, and you have Sony, Microsoft, and other. Which one are you gonna put the money on?
In order, Microsoft, Google, and then possibly Sony. In that order.
Okay. All right. That would be incredible. Just for the mere fact of that would definitely get the fanboy wars going over the tip. Just going crazy.
So is this why everyone thinks Order 1886 is coming back?
Yes, that's exactly why everybody thinking they
okay, just so you guys know, that's not a rumor behind the scenes.
People say that,
yeah, that's a community rumor. And I think Mega just muted himself.
I did.
You back? Oh, you sound way better now.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I had to my thing wasn't plugged in all the way. Like I said, I don't use the Hangouts like this anymore. So it's really crazy. So hopefully that's better. Sorry guys. Anyway, yeah, no.
So this is worth it. I was seeing the 1486 rumor is not development. It's not a development rumor floating around in my circles. Really? So there are some things that float around in my circles. There are certain things that I just see pop up on Reddit or pop up amongst the community. So that's either I think fans wishing for it. I don't know who owns the rights. I think Sony may still own the rights. I don't know. I would have to check up on that. But if Sony still owns the rights, the question is, do they need Ready at Dawn to make that?
Right, because I mean, I don't think that it did very well. And even if it didn't receive well at all. A lot of people, that was kind of like the butt of PlayStation jokes when it came to their games. It was either that game or it was Knack or it was Drive Club. After everybody seen what Forza did with Drive Club, so it's pretty crazy. It's pretty amazing. Let me go ahead and read a comment from Tempted Sun. He says, do you think Microsoft should make another push in Japan once they open their Asian division because of the popularity of handheld gaming, basically xCloud? What do you think, Don?
I think Japanese offer something unique. And they're starting to, I would say, kind of hit that Western stride that we hit here about 8 years ago. In regards to that, so they're kind of now starting to catch up with the rest of the industry. I know that sounds harsh, but all this new graphical technology hit, and I think they were a little bit at loss of what to do with it. And now you're seeing more and more gorgeous games, especially like Capcom. Capcom's producing some awesome stuff right now that are reminding me of the old Capcom that I grew up with. But there's some issues, overseas too. Like they don't value the same games we do. So maybe in the mobile market, maybe there is something there. Maybe something with xCloud. I think he's not wrong on that. The question is who's going to want to work with Microsoft in regards to that, because that is a challenge for an American company.
Yeah, and I'm going to piggyback off that and just say, look, I think if Xbox is going to do anything in Japan, xCloud is really the only option, because the console is just not going to sell out there. It doesn't matter if they make it smaller. It doesn't matter if if the price is adequate. I just think that's why Nintendo was king. That's why Nintendo caters the way that they do, and Japan follows it. I mean, Nintendo is king out there. PlayStation is a second fiddle, and and Xbox is really pretty much non-existent out there. So xCloud is the only viable option if they feel that if they want to try to bring something to that fan base out there, because I wouldn't even, I mean, they could still do it. They have the resources to still try to push something out there, console wise, in that country, but it's going to still be the same way that it has been for the last 4 generations, 3-4 generations.
I would say xCloud. That's one area where xCloud, I think, will do better than anywhere else. To be honest with you,
you think so? In Japan,
Japan, China, Taiwan, those areas.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it'll be and people in the United States,
they have better infrastructure,
right.
Their whole culture is around more mobile type solutions in regards to that. Quick in, get out games, continuous games like like MMOs, that sort of stuff. So having the ability to turn on and off and come in and out of the world at will, I think will play towards those. So we'll see. I mean, I don't think it's going to fly in the West as much. I don't think it's going to fly in Central Europe as much.
You don't think so?
No, I mean, there's always going to be areas where one's going to be stronger than the other, right? I mean, that's inevitable. And so I just think the areas where it's going to do the strongest is over in the East when it comes to xCloud. And I think, I think the console home space is going to grow even more, but it doesn't mean we're not going to have this segment that's, I'm trying to be very careful on this, right? Like trying to dance around it. I think there's a whole nother customer base for streaming. That's the way I look at it. And there's a small bit of, I think there's overlap with some people that will use it as a replacement as their home console, but for everyone that is going to be using it as a replacement, there's somebody else that's going to fill in that slot. So I think both are essential in regards to that. So,
yeah, I mean, I think that it has potential to do well in Japan. Just for that reason, because a lot of people are on the go, the infrastructure out there. But I feel that because a lot of the people on social media really kind of try to downplay mobile gaming, and mobile gaming is far more superior than anything else out there when it comes to just having
about revenue.
We talk about revenue. It kills everything.
Doesn't Candy Crush do more for Activision than any of their other properties or something like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, you would think Call of Duty that Candy Crush kills everything, and I mean, and then just like that's why everybody's going there. I know that
what's strange is Blizzard games that are the butt of everyone's jokes are the ones secretly laughing back at them, right? I mean? Like it's Candy Crush, and like it's not my game, but I don't deny its success, and it's extremely successful, right? Same with Minecraft. Minecraft's not my game. To this day, I still don't even understand the game. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah, no, I'm not a Minecraft fan either. Yeah,
but you can't say it's not successful. It's extremely successful, right? So it's the games that are always the butt of people's jokes that people don't understand, that people try to make fun of, that are the ones to watch out for. They're killing you silently. In regards to, and to be honest with you, that's why I think, like, when you think of mobile games like that, there's a segment that's walled off from the rest of gaming, which is mobile gaming. And this is one of the reasons why I'm very much cross-play. I'm okay with streaming, even though it's not my thing. I don't think it's going to replace anything or anything like that. But I do think there's a segment of people that haven't been exposed to bigger titles in regards to that, or there's people that have been exposed to bigger titles, but they're not in it to buy another piece of hardware, right? They only want to maybe play 1 or 2 bangers a year, right? And to them, maybe it's not worth buying that hardware. Well, that's money left on the table that no one's collecting on, and that's what streaming brings to the table. Is it brings all that stuff together in regards to that. So I think it really has a huge impact in that sense. But do I think it's going to replace my home console experience? Never. It'll never do that. But I think there's definitely a place for it. There's definitely room for it.
No, I totally agree. There's definitely room for it as I eat me a gummy bear. I haven't ate a gummy bear in so long, and I seen my old lady had some, and I said, you know what? I'm going to try me a gummy bear right fast, and hopefully Don won't go quiet. And you did.
So. I did. That was part of the plan. I heard a smack, and that cut.
You called me. You called me because the one thing I did forget about a gummy bear is that you got to do some chewing.
Yes, you do.
All right. Okay.
But, I mean, I guess, does that make sense to everybody? I think people are they're like on one side of the fence on streaming. Either it's going to be the future for everything, or it's going to fail. And I land somewhere in the middle on all this, and it seems like a lot of people feel like they have to take a side on it.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. See, I don't think that it's going to just revolutionize gaming to the point to where everybody wants to play on their phone or tablet or something like that. I just know for me, when I played it out there at E3, how responsive it was, how it looked. I was like, whoa. And it just made me think of the times like when I was at E3 and then I didn't have any consoles with me, or I didn't bring my PlayStation or my Xbox or nothing. And I'm like, this is perfect for the times that we have a little bit of layover where we're not doing anything. I could be in my room, or I could be over at 100s or wherever. And if everybody's just chilling, doing their own thing, and it's just some downtime, I could pop that out, put the controller up to the phone, and I could play something.
Yeah,
that was the first thing that I thought about.
And to be honest with you, it's kind of like a lot like what I was showing you when we're finding a new way to stream our content for when we do things like Mixer and Twitch for you guys. Both me and Mika were talking about that before we hopped on the show. But it's just like that. You're just going to be probably bring up the app. You'll be able to select the little icon, hit the button, sync, boom. And if you have your own hardware, it's going to sync right from that hardware for you. And I think it's going to be literally that. To get in and out, it's literally going to be that simple.
Yeah, and that's that. And I'm just looking forward to that. That's, to me, is really cool. And I think it's more of a thing for the future, because I mean, Phil has said that he basically wants to that anything that they're trying to do is more for the plans for the future, for when they're bringing in these certain things that some gamers claim that they don't want or they don't care about. But it's not all about just that individual. It's about everybody. It's the inclusion of everyone. And as long as you have the option to not be forced to have xCloud or have Game Pass or have PlayStation Now or whatever, then I don't see why anybody would complain about it. If it's not for you, it's just not for you. Stay traditional. If it's something that you're interested in, because I guarantee you, once it get to a certain point, just like with anything, I mean, I'm still not big on VR, but I'm sure later down the line, there's going to be that game that's going to make me say, you know what, I think I might want to try it out. And then I might fall in love with it, or I might still not be interested. But the fact of it is that it did something to where it made me feel, oh, you know what, I'm ready to try it now. And that would be, what, it's been 3 years now since VR has kind of taken off. So it just, for every individual, I just don't understand why so many people try to make it seem like it's all about them and don't think about everybody else.
Well, I'm a big believer, if you support other gamers and what something is for another gamer, that gives you a better voice for when you ask for certain things for yourself. Does that make sense?
No, I mean,
Or another
perfect sense.
segment of gamers. So I'm a big fan of that, and it's something I try to live every time I get on a podcast or something like that. In regards to that, I'm not going to stream for my entertainment. I'm not doing it, and it's not because it's not an option. It's just because I know there's a deficit. I know what I'm sacrificing. Experience. I want the better experience, right? And for other, then that's them. That's their choice. Respect that choice, and in as far as that stuff is concerned, and I think that's a good thing. And I think when people are worried about crossplay, because I hear this a lot when people talk about crossplay between different devices, the solution is not turning off crossplay. The solution is making better balanced games for crossplay. The solution, honestly, is to provide better matchmaking. People that know that stuff the best are the developers. And the developers, if they feel like they can't make it work in within those confines, they're most likely going to remove the option of crossplay or leave it optional, right?
Right.
So that's what it comes down to. And crossplay is so essential. What people don't understand, and this is what people don't grasp, is every year there's a multiplayer games released. So every year, even though our pool of gamers is growing to a certain degree in the console space, you have gamers divided amongst more games, right? So the issue kind of compounds itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So crossplay, what it does is brings more players into the pool, so that is not that same amount of gamers is not spread thin. You've just now added more to the pile that can be spread out. In regards to that, there's still issues you have to address, right? Like, here's the thing: is like, and I use this other analogy. If you ever see somebody with a disability, like Microsoft does a disability controller, right?
Mm-hmm.
And why should that person I'm going to propose this question. I have to be careful how I say it. That person should only be allowed to play with other people that have the same player input as him, or should he be able to play with other gamers? My vote is he should be able to play with other gamers, and if he's good, regardless of the input, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you should be put against other gamers who are evenly matched, right? So that comes down to matchmaking. I wouldn't want to ever deny that person to be able to play with other gamers. So how's that any different from somebody that wants to play on a tablet or play on the PC? That's their business. And how good they are should be the one that determines who they should play with and what they should play with. I don't know. That's kind of my kind of tangent on that. I know that's an argument that keeps coming up, and I feel like it's an argument that holds the industry back. So,
and I agree with that, just for the mere fact that if certain people out there that doesn't want to play with a certain group of people, I agree that there should be an option. But again, it's like you said with the matchmaking, if enough people have enough issues, it will be addressed. If Sea of Thieves is completely broken online, then it would be addressed, not only within the forums, but it would be all over the place. But you don't see that. You see certain individuals say that, well, the PC experience, it kills my vibe. But I don't see articles where people are saying that Sea of Thieves is getting killed, because there are a lot of people that have jumped on the bandwagon of Sea of Thieves here, especially since they've been adding the content. It just goes with any other games, like with the situation with Gears. You can see who's playing online or who's playing on PC, because it shows a little PC icon. You can't be upset about playing against other players that may be on PC and it's a co-op online game, or mode.
well,
That just trips me out. For ranked, I can totally understand that with Gears, but when you're talking about horde mode, when you're talking about escape mode, you're playing with friends. Those are your allies. Those are not people that's coming after you. So I just look at that as, what are we doing here?
yeah,
What is the
cooperative
complaint
thing. Yeah, the cooperative thing shouldn't shouldn't never be. I think that should be common ground for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anyone should. I mean, I can't relate to someone that doesn't want to have cooperative play. Um, the the issue comes down to when I say matchmaking, like if someone's KD is dramatically higher, that person with higher KD should be placed with other people of high KDs. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That person's accuracy should be placed with other people's accuracy. So if you make matchmaking the priority and you have an intelligent way to look at the stats of an individual and how they play, then you're going to match them with equally skilled players regardless of input device. And that's the way I look at it. Now you can even take it a step further and you can do matchmaking. So like, hey, his stats are different on this type of device versus this solution, right? So then you can look at it as, okay, because he's on this type of device and using this type of interface, these are the skill level that people that he should be matched with, he or she should be matched with, right? And that's the way I look at it, and brings more players to the pool. We have a real issue. There's not enough influx of players coming in for all the multiplayer games coming out. And we're on a crash course. If we don't address this by bringing more gamers in the pool, we're going to have a bigger problem on our hands, regardless if it's a PlayStation platform, Nintendo, or Microsoft. So this is something we need to address. That's why certain developers or certain platform providers are starting to cave in a little bit. So.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. I mean, look, this has been one of those things for gamers for as long as I know. Once online gaming was established, of how, especially once you was playing NBA 2K or NBA Live, Madden, Game Day, whatever that the game was at the time. Well, I said Game Day. Game Day goes way back. I'm thinking of 2K football, NFL 2K. But once that there was implemented where you could play with people online, that, and especially with fighters, that was the one thing that we always wanted to do. Oh man, I would love to play against a PlayStation person. Put the test about the controllers. Are their digitals a lot better than Xbox digitals? Is are Xbox gamers better than in shooters than PlayStation shooters? It did that to me. I love that sense of competition, because as a gamer, I want to play against everybody. I don't want to just be in one box. I mean, I know that there's people out there that wouldn't mind that, but especially now, since a PlayStation will be using the servers to have a better infrastructure. I mean, why not? Why not crossplay be implemented in a lot of games? Like I would love to play people in Tekken and not have to buy another Tekken. Just to go ahead and play people on another console. That I just think that it's like you said, it's one of those things. Amy Henny and even Mark Cerny, and then when they were talking about the single player situation, and it just goes even further than that. Like, people aren't really buying these games like maybe some people may think, because not everybody can afford all of these games to keep being pumped out at all year long. I mean, there's so many games. Like,
I just look at
crazy.
Time.
Yeah,
and that's time's the big issue. Time's the big issue, right? Like,
yeah,
if I want a game, I can afford it. I'm if it's my funds are tight, I plan out. Like, what I mean? Like an adult for something I want, and it's not really a big deal. But the problem is, and we're talking about what's the next game we're going to stream live. The problem is, trying to find the time of where we're going to put our time. That's
right.
the big issue.
I mean, look how spread out is Devin the Gamer. I mean, look, that's just a podcast.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just I don't know. I look forward to playing with other gamers. I feel like the solutions are different than what people say they are. And I know everyone's not going to agree with my answers, but I feel the industry needs to experiment in those areas. I think there's a lot of potential for everybody. And all you need is someone to show how to do it right. And then everyone's going to jump on a board. I mean, look at Halo. first-person shooters weren't very well accepted on a console. Halo brought it to the masses, and it changed the way we get content for the better, right? So that's how I look at crossplay. That's how I look at people be able to do whatever type of thing they want to get games to their home. Leave it to the gamer. Let them decide what they want to do, and then just try to play nice with everybody. And I think you got a much better cohesive experience for sure.
I definitely agree. There's a game on PlayStation it's a fighter. It's called Kill la Kill. It was a game me and Lemon played out there at E3. It's an Arc Systems fighter. That game is not going to sell very well because not everybody's going to be interested in it because how it looks, it just looks like some kind of cartoon looking fighting game with it's just not going to resonate with a bunch of people. But this is the things like when we talk about Game Pass and the potential of what PlayStation Now could be if they implement the same thing, which I think that they will in the future, is doing that type of service thing. Those type of games thrive, and then you add crossplay on top of that. Come on, it's beautiful. I don't understand why anybody would want gaming to still be set to just to be one entity just for the sake of saying that they've won in console sales. That doesn't benefit you the least. That doesn't benefit anybody. I mean, that benefits the company, but that doesn't benefit the gamer. I mean, that's great that the consoles is sold that well, and congratulations for Sony for that. But even if this was Microsoft and they sold 100 million consoles, it's still, if they were the ones that would not want crossplay or wouldn't want certain things to happen for the industry to grow and for the community to come together more, then I wouldn't be for it. I'm all for innovation and things to go forward, and I think that this is one of those strategies. I think crossplay is great. I really do. And anyway, check out that game Kill la Kill. I'm gonna get it this weekend because I didn't know that it came out until I seen somebody playing it on Twitter. I was like, oh, that game is out. I'm gonna get it. So just letting you know. So you got any last things you want to talk about on that?
No, I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, I think the future is brighter than what people are saying, and I think time will show that.
Yeah.
In regards to that, and then those that don't see it yet, just give it time. I think it'll be a net positive for everybody in regards to that. And then if we can keep cooler heads and look at it objectively, then we can look at the areas where the flaws actually do come up, because there are going to be flaws too, and then we can address those. And gaming is just going to continue to grow, and gaming needs to continue to grow. It needs to continue to evolve. I mean, that's one of the most exciting things about gaming, when we're not doing the same stuff all the time. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it is. It's the same. But speaking of same, but it is, but this is kind of different because of the fact that we can now talk about Xbox strategy going forward, or our thoughts about their first party strategy. Mr. Kima, you're late. But you know what? Nobody knew that we were going to do it. To be honest,
okay. We're late too. So
yeah, we're late too. We didn't know anything. Don hit me up and saw me that I was on my Xbox, and he was like, "You home?" I said, "Yeah, I'm home." Oh, really? And then we just started talking, and then he was like, "Man, let's do this." I was like, "I might as well." So you're not really late, but the Phil Spencer had an interview. Some people tore it down, tried to chop it up and make it out to whatever they want it to be. He talked about the strategy, he talked about this, talked about that. But this is more important because of what somebody asked me that brought this up to me. And it was basically about the strategy of what Microsoft's first party is. Why the reason why they're going so heavily on this first party narrative. The new hires for the new person that they bought from that. Well, I say bought, that they hired, that does the portfolio that came from Nintendo, and then the other person that took Shannon Loftus' place that has that formerly worked with IP and with WB. What do you think that their strategy is on that? And then we'll talk about the first party? What do you think about the whole situation with the portfolio person that they hired and then the person that took Shannon Loftus' place?
I think there's some shuffling. There's some growth there in regards to that. I have more of an opinion on the first party side of things.
Okay.
Yeah, the thing is, Microsoft is a platform provider, right? And so what that means now going forward is PC. It means streaming, and it means a console. It means all three of them. Not one of those. Not trying to migrate to everybody to one. Not trying to be just a third party publisher. They are a platform provider. And so being a platform provider, you want third party to be dependent on you. That's the idea. So Microsoft's investment in streaming, they want people to be dependent on their technology. So if anyone else wants to do streaming, it's probably just cheaper to go with Microsoft and develop on their platform versus building up their own, their server center and server center. I'm tired, guys. I'm sorry. Their own data centers. So instead of building all these data centers all over the world, you just partner up with Microsoft. That's the most affordable solution, right? We've already seen this, right? We've already seen this with Sony. Sony is dependent on Microsoft to deliver their next streaming solution going forward. And I see that relationship growing in a lot of other places. So by having services like, for example, like Game Pass, right? You have a lot of content on there, then it becomes now the de facto place versus starting your own service, right? Because now you're trying to compete with all those other first party games by creating a separate service, or you can ride the wave of those first party games. And that also works with obviously consoles, how consoles have worked traditionally as well. So, and PC's no different on that when it comes down to it. So it's a strategy to get gamers on board and get developers dependent on their platform. And that's what it boils down to. And as much as these first party games are known to make money here and there, the majority of the money is made is by third party for these platform providers. That's the case with Sony. That's the case with Microsoft. I'm not sure about Nintendo because they've survived only on first party for quite a while. But I would even fundamentally argue, I would say it may be true for even Nintendo now going forward. So,
right. So I mean, okay, the studios. What do you think about that strategy? In the sense of, I mean, and do you give us a time frame of how far that, I mean, how long do you think that a game like maybe Fable would actually come out? I mean, just your estimate. You don't, if you know something, of course, don't leak it out. But I mean, because there's people that's thinking that there's games that's going to be coming out like a Fable that will come out 5 years from now, and and maybe whatever that the new project from Ninja Theory, from Obsidian, that these games are already going to be coming out way later than they are going to be coming out more early. So do you agree with that? Do you think that the whole method of Microsoft saying that they are going to be at a point to where they're going to have games come out every quarter, every 3 months to every quarter, that they'll have some kind of first party game to be available for the customers out there? Do you believe that, or do you think that's hogwash? What do you think about all of that situation?
Well, you always have to have a goal in mind, right? So the goal is always going to be bigger than, unfortunately, what you're probably going to be able to deliver on, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they say 2 billion, I don't think they'll hit 2 billion. No offense to Phil and the team or anything like that, but I know they'll grow with their strategy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And who knows? They may double their platform overall in the long run. Either way, I see growth there. I would say the same thing with, it's a good goal to have that many games come out, say, in a calendar year. But if you have that goal, and if one game gets delayed because, say, quality or things are not hitting the mark the way they imagined it, right, which is how game development happens, that can be pushed back, right? And then what you're able to do is you're basically able to backlog quality content in regards to that. I mean, we've seen this happen with Sony. Sony started kind of the structure of their current studios that we see today that people praise. They started that back during the PlayStation 3 era, where they started kind of backloading everything and building up towards something, right?
Right.
And that's the same thing that Microsoft's doing. Now their strategies are a little bit different, as Sony will tease further out. I think Microsoft doesn't believe in that in a shorter time frame, and I actually kind of agree with the shorter time frame
Yeah, me too.
solution. But the problem is, you got to have a backlog, so your customer has faith from basically E3 season to E3 season. They're going to have that steady content, and what they haven't been able to deliver is that steady content that people are expecting from them.
Mhm.
And I'm just being brutally honest about it. I enjoyed a lot of the products that we got. I mean, I love Crackdown. I would recommend that game to anybody. However, not all of them have been home runs, right? And we know that, and
Right.
we know that they've done better in the past, and they know that as well. So, I won't need to continue to harp on them, but this gives them that flexibility, allows them to push things back. It comes down to, and you're like, okay, well, Microsoft delivered 3 great games for me this year, right? It
Mhm.
wasn't 4, but I'm not going to cry about 3. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then some years are going to be a little richer than others. But if you get that backlog going, you get the mixture of bigger games and you get the mixture of smaller games. Then the leverage is not so much on the smaller games. I said, I've said this before. Smaller games are not meant to carry the load of the brand. Does that make sense?
Oh no, that makes perfect.
And they get judged unfairly because of that, right? And where the people don't judge them for the value of what they are. And so that helps relieve that as well. So we'll see how it all pans out in regards to that. I know they have a plan. I think they push a lot of things back for whatever Fan Fest, and who knows if they did anything for what is it, Gamescom?
Yeah,
Germany.
that's supposed to
So
be there at Gamescom. Yeah.
yeah, so it seems like they held back for some of that stuff, not next E3. But we'll see how that all pans out.
Yeah, I mean, if I don't really care. I mean, if they could bring out game announcements or whatever, I think that if they come out and they do another for these other shows, well, XO, they're supposed to have another XO. Yeah, give me something more about something with the games that's coming out that they've already showed with Bleeding Edge and with Ori and Battletoads, things like that. But if they want to announce something that's not too far away, then that's cool. I think that those shows could be more for if they acquired some more studios, which they're supposed to. I'm really kind of intrigued about the rumors of that they're trying to acquire a Japanese studio. So whatever that studio could be, that would be insane. But for the most part, I like the fact that Phil keeps it close to the chest, just for the reasons of what happened with Scalebound, what happened with Crackdown 3, what happened with Quantum Break. But to me, Quantum Break lived up to the bill. Crackdown 3 didn't, with the online aspect. The single player, I wasn't really caring about the single player, but the single player was absolutely phenomenal. I thought it was great. I thought it was fun as hell. Story was cool. I mean, the best game, yeah. Not the best game in the world, but the game was cool. I enjoyed it.
Well, K-Mega, has enough time gone on that we can say we enjoyed the game? Is that okay now?
No. Not enough time. You say,
I mean, I enjoy a lot. I enjoy a lot of games.
Somebody said in the
I
chat.
saw that.
Yeah, they said if you say that they'll nuke you, and yeah, you can't. That's the whole crazy thing. You can't say that you like a certain game, and these people are supposed to be gamers. I think that's silly. If somebody tells me that they like the Last Guardian, then fine. You like the Last Guardian. I don't care. You know what I mean? That's
yeah. I mean, here's the thing: no gamer should have to apologize for liking a game. This goes for Sony guy, your Nintendo guy, your Microsoft PC. I don't care. No gamer should ever have to apologize for liking a game. You should be able to express yourself, but it should be the same sort of thing when you're expressing yourself about a game you dislike. You say it, and you're done with it, right? And I enjoyed the game. It's a coming up in conversation. And I didn't like Crackdown 2. I love Crackdown 1 and I love Crackdown 3. And I'll openly admit and call out that the fact that they took too long to fix the matchmaking on the multiplayer, and they didn't add enough multiplayer content post-launch soon enough to retain that customer base. I'll admit it's flaws too. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, no, the multiplayer is in bad shape. I mean,
Yeah.
I was trying to play it today, and I really couldn't get into play, and that's unfortunate because the multiplayer was not bad. It didn't live up to the expectations from something from 2016, but there was something that I was having a conversation with somebody that was saying that was showing, hey, what happened to this, and they were showing something from 2016. I'm like, man, I could go back and show you stuff that was supposed to be advertised, how a game was supposed to be from the console that you like, and it didn't live up to the bill. Come on now. We seen what the game was the year prior, and it didn't, and the people came out and they said, look, the game, we had time restraints. There was issues with this, there was issues with that. This is what we got. I'm just happy that the game came out because like we were saying last year, Xbox couldn't afford another game to be canceled. There was no way that you could scrutinize Crackdown all you want to, but for that game to get canceled, that would have been way worse. Scalebound hurt that whole thing of where people want to see games 1, 2, 3 years out. Sorry, Pred, but I don't think that's ever going to happen until maybe it might start happening once these first party studios start pumping out these games. Maybe they might go ahead and like, okay, we can start showing stuff a couple of years ahead. But I don't see that happening for the foreseeable future anytime.
Even if you look at the Halo Infinite trailer they showed, that was part of the game.
Of which game?
Halo Infinite, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
So they showed something working in engine on hardware that they know they're going to be able to beat. So here's the thing. I'm not a fan of showing stuff out because what you do is you aim for the stars, right, as a developer, and you have to scale things back to make it work on whatever performance profile you're working with. In this case, hardware, like your PC or your console. So, I mean, that's just kind of how it is. And to be honest with you, almost anything that's classified in that AAA category, all gone through changes. Okay. Some people will say downgrades, some people will say adjustments, but the reality is they all went through changes. And that's normal. That's part of the process to refine a product. And the problem is the average gaming community doesn't understand that because they're not part of that day-to-day life, right? All they know they're showed something and they're going to compare because they're into graphics, which we all are. And then next thing you know, something's different and then it gets called out, right? Either the difference is good or bad. And I can't think of any game that was shown up out 3 years that showed up exactly like what they showed in that demonstration. And that's just how that stuff goes.
Yeah, no, it is what it is. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of showing and proving. We all know that. We've talked about it a million times, and they are full aware. But there's going to be people that's going to be patient, and there's other people that's not. So that's just how that works. But for people that were patient for Sony or for Nintendo, because Nintendo, that Wii U, that was horrendous. I mean, a lot of people was counting Nintendo to be dead. Like that was it. They were just going to stick with the DS, and look at what they're doing now. I think all things, they know what they made the mistake in, and they fixed it and they made it happen. And it's just like for games, for PlayStations that came out with their big titles at the end of this generation. Those games took a lot of time. Like you said, they started from the PlayStation 3 era. Like God of War was what, 6-7 years before to make. Detroit didn't come out, and they showed the tech demo of Detroit in 2012, and then the game finally comes out. Then just last year. The Last of Us is still not here. Last of Us is not coming out until most likely next year. So I mean that's well over 5 years. So I just look at it as, look, these games, these big budget games, these games that people are looking for, they take time. If you're not patient with it, then you're just not patient with it. I mean, that's, to me, I think that's the whole reason of having multiple multiple consoles, or and you're having a gaming PC and
Well,
whatever else.
that's what comes down to having steady stream of content, right? That's the problem, right? If you ask what's really the issue on, you know, on the Microsoft side of things, is they have asked their customers to wait a little too long. They set an expectation of $1 billion franchise, either intentional or unintentionally, every launch of every piece of hardware they've done. And they've also done, there is a customer base that's looking for a very particular thing, right? They're looking for story driven single player games because they like that stuff. And they're getting a lot of multiplayer from other places. And so that's the reason why they're asking for it. And I've said this before, genres don't die. Once a genre has been invented in gaming and it's successful, they don't die. They just get overshadowed by some things. And I feel like this is just a blind spot that this hasn't been addressed from Microsoft. And I think they'll get there. I don't think what you're going to get from Microsoft as a publisher is a lot of the same games or a lot of things that are kind of like try to mimic one another. Within that brand, you're going to get a lot of games that are going to be different from one another. And I think that's their intent and their design from what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is funny how the narrative continues to change. I mean, because, we're going to go to the last topic, which is a fun topic for especially for me and you. But just as somebody in the comments that was bringing about Nintendo's first party. Yeah, they had great first party, but everybody was saying they were dead because the third party wasn't supporting them. And people were confused because is it still a Wii? What is a Wii U? There was all different types of talk. Now it's flipped to where third party doesn't really matter. It's all about the first party, which that's a lie. I mean, third party is king. It always will be. Just because there's going to be some first party games that hit the numbers, there are still a whole bunch of first party games that doesn't. And third party is what keeps these consoles rolling. And
that's
it always
why you make a console. That's the only reason why you make a console.
Right.
Because yes, you can make your own money by making your own software, but you will make a lot more money other people publishing software on your hardware or whatever your platform is, because that's going to evolve into a platform less of dedicated hardware, because there's going to be multiple different types of gamers out there, right? But the harsh reality is you create a platform so you can win over those customers, which is third party. They're a customer, and you start collecting the funds. You just roll in there and collect the funds for that, right? And that's where majority of the money is always made on these brands. People need to understand that. Doesn't mean there's not money to be made on first party. It doesn't mean, all this stuff counts. This is one of the arguments that I disagree with, is everybody always wants to try and find the finite thing that's either wrong or an issue. No, you have to look at the complete body of the work. You need first party. You need third party. You need indies. You need to be able to be profitable on that platform. And you need a good online structure. You need good security. You need reliable hardware. All that stuff is important. And you can't just separate one of those things. It doesn't work like that. These are all things that are issues and all things that customers are looking for as a whole, not just one particular style of customer.
Right. That's absolutely right. And the reason why I think that the Switch, because I mean, look, the one thing about it that there's guys that's trying to make it sound, like I said, the narrative completely changed. Because if you could just go back and read the articles, look at what people were saying, videos, all of that about the Wii U, and it was all about the third party. They had their first party lineup there, but the thing still didn't sell. They still had Marios and Zeldas and all different types of games, sagas and all of that. And the thing was dismal to other people. Now, for the system itself, I thought the thing was cool. I mean, now it was weird with the quirky controls and all that, with the controller and all of that. But the concept of what they were trying to do, I thought maybe was too far ahead of its time. But it's still, the main factor was about the third party. So this whole narrative, like I said, the whole narrative shift about first party is the thing that makes people go buy consoles. Yeah, that part is true to a certain extent, because I guarantee you, if Fortnite was on everything else and not on that console, people are going to gravitate to Fortnite, and that's a third party game. So I digress. I mean, this is one of those things that people are going to agree and to disagree with. But let's get on to the last topic. Man. Okay, this is our thing now. I just got finished playing, just got finished beating Shadow of War, and I know this game came out in 2017. But man, that game was absolutely great. Now, look, guys, I guess we should go ahead and say see you later if you've been wanting to play it and you haven't played it, because there are spoilers. Me and Don are going to break it down because we've been saying that we were going to break it down, so we might as well do it here before we wrap it up. But give me your thoughts about Shadow of War. What was the, from one of these games that you played this generation, where do you put that? And just what do you think what Monolith did with this game? I mean, what is your whole thoughts about everything?
It's a great game. I skipped out on the first one, and I just hopped in on this one. And, I always judge what I purchase for the year, usually around E3. I don't make decisions before then. I see the landscape, what's going to be coming out that calendar year going into the following E3. And then I kind of plan out which games I want to buy, try, and play, right? And this is one of those ones I was planning on getting on the previous one, just never got around to it. So I purchased this one, and it took me a little while to get into it. I didn't really know what was going on all that much. I kind of felt like they start you in a place where you're a little bit lost.
Yes.
In the game of what's the context, what's going on, all that sort of stuff. And there's a certain point, and I was talking just about Mega, like I just didn't know what I was supposed to do going forward. And it's probably because I skipped the prompt. I get impatient when they start giving me like play mechanic prompts. And I got to this point where you get a ring and you're supposed to be able to recruit the orcs to be part of the Bright Lords team, right? It's the premise of the game. And I literally was killing everything I could on the map, and I didn't know what I was supposed to do. So at that point, I was kind of frustrated, almost wanted to give up on the game. And then as soon as I start getting into that extra layer of the mechanic where you start recruiting people and you start collecting the orcs just like you would work up towards like a new unlock on a character, that layering type of effect, I start really getting into it. And then there's the betrayal system. There's the systems that come into play that they're on your team. You have spies. Just putting all the puzzle pieces together and then seeing how the stuff unfolds. It was just phenomenal.
Yeah. No, I have to go there I have to agree 100%. Like at the very beginning, I mean, I put in just 20 hours. I was in like 23 hours and I was just in the second pretty much level. Just killing orcs over and over again, captains after captains. And I'm like, what's going on? Why is nothing changing? And it's just like you said, it went to a point to where you realize that you look at the menu system and then you see it says quest, it says this, it says that. And I'm like, oh, so this is how you get to this place. This is when you got to that place. But I mean, I'm already 23 hours in. And so I'm kind of like, dang, that was a waste of time until, like you said, you get the ring and then everything starts really going wild and it's fantastic. And then you're looking like, oh snap. And then one of my favorite things in the game was the fortress is taking over the fortress. I mean, that's something that I had to do. And now I'm finna jump in because I'm a 77. I'm between the 75 and the 77. So I want to go ahead and get to 80, maybe 85, and then start getting those captains. Because I don't think that there'll be too many people out there that's going to, when you play online, where I'm going to take out those forts, and they're going to see like, what the hell is going on? This dude got 85 captains invading my place. We coming in. That's what I want to do. I want to start taking everybody's shit. I want it. So it's one of those things where I got so caught up into that. And then just to get to the true ending, as people were saying, because I showed the little clip of the ending. I didn't even know there was a true ending, but just to see how that played out about Talion, it was kind of heartfelt because the man went through so much. If you didn't see, that was what, especially you might need to go back and play Shadow of Mordor and see what it went through, because it was tough. Like
they filled in the gaps, so I had an idea what was going on.
Mhm.
I mean, he was basically a prisoner being immortal for the longest time. So, yeah, and it's not something he asked for. So I got that premise from it for sure.
Yeah, and then he just wanted to try to get back to his family because they got killed right in front of him and in the first one. So like, and that's what got him on his quest with the elf and that's just how I made everything just pulled me into it. And then at first, when I first started playing it, because I played it day one when I got it, when it first came out. And then it just something about it. I was playing other games. I think Forza 7 came out at that time, around that time, and something else. And maybe even Gears. I can't remember what game was right around that. And I was like, no, I'm on this. I'll get back to it. And then when I played it again, right in between when I beat Origins and then I started playing Odyssey, I kind of just didn't feel that, like the motions, the combat, it just didn't feel fluent to me. And that was because of the fact that he was so limited. And I was like, I'm gonna kind of pull through just to see. And then once everything came back to me from old Shadow of Mordor, I was like, okay, all right. Now I'm digging it. So it was
Man,
good.
how do you like? I mean, so I'm sure this has happened to you while playing it. There's certain orcs that you like, right? Like when you recruit them, and you tend to favor. It's like, oh, this dude is just going to destroy this guy, right?
Yeah.
And you pin him up against somebody, and you show up to like when they're going to go battle, and your dude loses.
Oh yeah,
dude. Oh my gosh, the feeling of I'm just going to kill this. I'm just going to take this guy out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It ramps up. It ramps up so quickly, and that's a testament to that Nemesis system, right? Sometimes it just feels like this long-winded. Early on in the game, it feels like this really like long-winded monologue from a villain. Does that make sense? Where you're just like, okay, this is getting a little old. But right when you start actually getting attached to certain orcs that you recruit, it becomes completely different. And that's where it gets interesting. Everything kind of happens. Like I had this one guy I killed. I don't know how many times I killed him, and that dude came back to life. So many damn times.
Yeah. I had 3 of them like that, and they kept coming back with different parts and pieces. Like one had a peg leg. Like what the hell? Like this
sheet metal and like green gas coming out of them, and yeah, it was brutal.
It was very brutal, and that I did that, like you just said, the character where the guy where you really liked him, and so I was like, you know what, I feel confident, so I put him in the pit fight, which the pit fight is an online, is an online where you go against somebody else's thing, and you don't control these guys.
Yeah, that's how you level them up, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah. That's how you level them up to get really high. And so this guy was like, his orc was, I think, it was like a 34, and mine was like a 41. But he had his orc on a legendary, as a legendary fighter, and my orc was just a level 41. So he pulled out this damn flamethrower and started lighting my damn dude up. And then that's when I kind of first started figuring everything out. Then he had little minions with him. Like, so he had dudes with spears. Well, I say dudes. He has orcs with spears. Plus, this dude had a flamethrower, and my favorite orc got killed. Like, I was so pissed off, just like you said. So it was a lot of things that just made it so sweet. Plus the fact that when you played, I played it on Nemesis, and so there was higher tier orcs the further along that you got that had Iron Will. You couldn't take them over. You just had to kill them. Or my favorite thing to do was to shame them, because then when you shamed them, some of them went delirious and they couldn't talk normal anymore. They would be bye. They would be crap, but they would still be strong as hell. And then when I was in the 70s, I fought an orc that was like a 68, and that orc, I tried to get him. He had the Iron Will, and so I shamed him. And then this is how cold that the game was, right? All of a sudden, his level jumped up to an 88. And I said, what the hell? And then you get the prompt after it happens. Oh, because of the difficulty that you're playing on, the orc could possibly not only go deranged, but could jump to a higher level. What are you talking about? So it just random like that. So that orc, I fought that orc. I went and found him. It took me 30 minutes to kill him. Like I was running from him.
Oh man, if you get killed too, like it has that effect. You want to hunt down that person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I'm going straight back.
Yeah, you beeline it right for that orc that killed you.
Great game. The game was fantastic. If anybody hasn't played it, man, check it out. Like I said, the ending was absolutely phenomenal. The tie-ins with the Lord of the Ring movies and with the whole, and you try to figure out who's tallying, what's his backstory with this, how far away is this story from the Lord of the Rings movies, and then just Sauron. It shows how badass Sauron really is. And then I can't say that the Bright Lord's name, Galabrami or whatever his name is, but
yeah, the elf dude.
Yeah, the elf, the Sauron's homeboy. That's pretty much.
It's an elf dude with the beef jerky face. That's all I know.
Right. Yeah, and then the asshole. Yeah, no love. Anyway, you got to go back. You got to check that out and see why I say that, because but the game is great. So yeah, check it out, man. But oh man, it's got time to wrap it up, man, and hopefully we can get in closer time to where we could get to do the Dev and the Gamer sometime soon. If not, then we'll just throw a little random out there. But where can everybody find you at, Don? Man, thank you guys for out there listening to us and keeping the chat going, man. We really do appreciate it. But where can they find you at, Don?
Yeah, the best thing to do is just follow me on Twitter. Anything I'm associated with is found there. So if I'm involved with a podcast, I noticed a couple people in the chat said, I wish I was on more podcasts. I wish I can do it too. But it's like a never ending interview for me. And I need a little bit of a break, and I do work a lot of hours. But when I am doing something, that's the best way to find out what I'm doing. I'm also doing a lot of streaming. My Mixer channel's on there. If you want to follow that, please subscribe. I'm getting closer to my goal, whatever that goal is, and all that good stuff. And then I think, do you want to stream Borderlands too? Are we doing that, Mega?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, I need about like 45 minutes to an hour. I need some food, and then we'll probably be doing that. Is that cool?
Yeah, I got to take Briggs out, take him out of his punishment, and then so he won't go messing around in the neighbor's yard. I was like, yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah, but do that, and then we can go ahead and
are we streaming it, or are we just playing it?
We can stream it. Yeah, we can stream it.
All right, so you guys can carry on the party there, I guess, right?
Yeah. My old lady's finna go see Hamilton tonight. So
nice.
I told lady, I told her I wasn't down to go see that. And besides that, I'm pretty sure I got to go to work early in the morning. Anyway, so I told her and her homegirls to have a good time. So I just said, that's because at first she said, I'm about to go see Hamilton. I got the tickets to go see. I said, who? What? I said, oh, you just coming bold like that? Hamilton like that? I mean, that's his name? And she, and I knew what it was, but I just would give her a hard time. And then she was like, oh yeah. He's gorgeous too. I'm like, oh, you have a, we start laughing. That's the type of relationship we got, man. We all good. But man, shout out to her. Go have fun looking at Hamilton, because I think I'm finna go see Lotus perform in concert here in August. You know what I'm saying? Flying Lotus. I can't wait to see that. I love those people's music. So I'm thinking about going to a concert. I haven't been to a concert in a while. But other than that, man, thank you guys hanging out. We're going to do some streaming here a little bit later. You can sub to the channel. Check out previous devs and the gamers. You just got to look through them, scroll, and find them.
Hey, wait, no. You have a little thing set up for it, I thought.
I do, but I need to put the last, I think, 3 episodes.
Yeah, you need to do that, because we're still random for people to be able to chime in on that stuff. So
yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. But anyway, thank you guys so much. Until next time, and man, until Friday, GRG. Don't forget to come check us out, man. Appreciate the support that we get in there, and see you then, and maybe in the next podcast on Saturday. So we'll be doing that. All right, everybody. Peace.
Mm-hmm.